Hello, welcome back or welcome to this channel. Okay, good start. Today we are going to be painting a fun fall. Today we are going to be painting a fun fall color palette inspired floral painting. I got a comment the other day that said I talk too much, and so I'm trying to just be myself more, I guess, because maybe sometimes I talk too much, but I am a teacher, so I have to talk. So today we are going to be doing a fall color palette inspired floral watercolor painting with some cosmos, I think some chocolate cosmos and some regular cosmos and some little dandelion flowers. So this is a fun one, and it's all round brush stuff. We're using a size 16 round and a size 6 round. So if you want a floral watercolor painting tutorial that uses round brushes instead of a filbert brush like I've been using quite a bit lately, then this one is for you. It's gonna give you a lot of good technique and pointers in it as well. So let's dive in. Okay, so for this floral tutorial, my fingers are covered in paint. We are going to be using a size 16 round brush and a size 6 round brush, wherever that one went. Size 6 round brush. And I'm going to be painting some cosmos mostly, maybe some zinnia or peonies, not really sure yet. We're going to see how it goes. And we're going to be using round brushes. I feel like I haven't done a round brush floral tutorial in a while. It's mostly been about the filbert blooms brush because it is my favorite for flowers, but I realize not everybody can get their hands on that brush. So we're going to do a round brush floral tutorial. So to get started, let's mix up our color palette. We're kind of in the fall wintry time of year, so I want these dark moody chocolatey florals, lots of like mauvey pinks with dragon's blood, primary red magenta, burnt umber, and a touch of black. In really thick consistencies too, so I'm making sure that my water to pigment ratio has more pigment in it, so it's really creamy and thick because I want my color to be opaque and rich looking. So, you know, on your palette it'll be much thicker, and when you spread your brush through it, you can move it around, but it's not as see-through. So for my chocolate colored flowers, I'm not really sure what type of flower this would be called. Maybe in the comments, you floral people, gardening people can let me know. I should know this. My mom is like the craziest gardener there is. But I'm going to use a lower slanted hold, so like 25 degrees away from the paper with your brush handle. And I'm basically just going to plop this brush down, and the shape of that brush is going to give me my petal shape. So it has a little tip, and then I'm just plopping and dragging for a little bit for that almond shape. I can even go back towards the top of the brush or the shape of the petal and give it a more obvious tip. And then from there, wherever this first petal is pointing, all of my other petals will come back to that. So I'm going around that spot right here with the same-ish petal shapes. Sometimes I'm putting less pressure, so I have this thinner shape. Let's put another one over here. And sometimes I go over it twice, like this one I did plop and plop to fatten it. Some are shorter, some are longer. And this is going to be our first little whatever type of flower this is. Again, let me know in the comments. But it's considered a star-shaped flower, but we also have multiple shapes going on. So the side right here is like a little cup, these petals on top, cup shape. But then we also have every single petal is pointing to the center. So it's like a 10-point star or something going on. So there's one of my chocolate flowers that I want, and then I'll put maybe a couple down here, and then I'm gonna start to add in those like pinkish color cosmos, and we'll do some tiny little daisy things. So again, finding where my first petal is gonna go, I can thicken this one up if I want to, and this is where the ending point for all of my petals will go next. So I like to point my brush to the top of the petal for all of these. And maybe this one's more flat, so we're seeing the center of it a little bit. So I want to show a skirt. I don't love the direction that these two are pointing, so if you don't like how something's landing, you can always just add another petal and pretend like it's being crisscrossed over. There you go. And a couple more, or one or two more. Black, brown, dragon's blood, and permanent red magenta. These are all my Mary Blue colors. By the way, I have my free 40-page Complete Beginner's Guide to Watercolor ebook linked in all of my videos. So if you want my full supply list and also just breakdown of watercolor, then check that out. Okay, let's do another one. Boom, boom, boom. If you're like, well, where do you know, or how do you know where to place things? Go check out my videos on composition. I have a bunch, but also the most natural flow for people's eyes when viewing paintings is gonna be in a S shape. S shape, there's many different shapes of composition: C shape, V shape, L shape, V, I already said V. S shape, like I said, there's a lot of different ones, but for these like big floral pieces, I like to follow the S. So I'm probably going to put more of this chocolate Cosmo or whatever it is on here, but I'm gonna move on to my pink for my other Cosmos. And I'm gonna use primary red magenta. And you guys there's always a handful of people in the comments who freak out that I put acrylic paint with my watercolor. I mention this every video, but I run out of white gouache and I always forget to buy it. I'm using white acrylic paint because I've ran out of white gouache. That would be my preference. If I had it, I would use gouache. And people comment on it destroying the palette or the brushes because it can't be reactivated. I can put paint on top of this, so I'm not worried about it. But if you don't want that happening to your palette, then don't do it. So I'm adding this white paint, and it always dries on the top. White paint, a little bit of it, to my pink over here, because I also want it to be really creamy. I've been painting with acrylic and watercolor blended together for years. Actually, how I started my career was with acrylic paint watered down like I was using it like watercolor, because it's all I had. And that's the thing too, people are gonna have all of these purist opinions with their mediums in any art medium, and then you're gonna have people who don't really care about the rules. So you choose how you want it to go for you. So size 16 brush and this pink and white mixture, again, white gouache or white acrylic paint. And I'm gonna use the side of the brush in about a 25-degree hold, and I'm not gonna use the tip. So the tip was used for this flower. We're pulling from the tip down. For this flower, I'm gonna use the side of the brush and pull it down. And I'm just gonna go up and down a couple of times for each petal. Wherever the first petal lands is where all of my next petals will point to. So make sure that you're connecting all of your petals back to that starting point. And we're just painting in the base of our little Cosmo there. Side of the brush in. And the shape you're going for is kind of, it depends on what position or perspective you're viewing the flower at. But sometimes it'll be a star shape. Other times you might just have couple petals and it's on its side, so it looks more like a bowl shape. really depends. Check out my Complete Beginner's Guide to Watercolor Flowers if you want to learn more about flower shapes and things like that. Basically, if you have a question about watercolor, I've probably covered it in one of my videos, especially if you're just getting started with watercolor. So we'll do a couple more of these, bringing in that with an S curve too. So we'll do a smaller guy over here, like that. And then once this dries, we'll put in our stamen on top of that. I'm gonna do a nice golden yellow daisy with my size 6 brush for this, actually. La-di-da. And this is gonna be the same type of stroke that we did for these chocolate cosmos or whatever. We're using the tip of the brush and dragging it or plopping it down towards the center of the flower. The pinkish cosmos were the opposite of that. Instead of using the tip of the brush, where you're pointing the tip of the brush parallel to the petal, we're pointing it perpendicular, and we're using the side of the brush and bringing it down. So I'm gonna sneeze. Achoo!
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, so this yellow, thick, creamy yellow, this is primary yellow and a touch of yellow ochre. We're gonna use the point of the brush and pull it in. And I'm putting medium to light pressure on it. Every petal is pointing back to the center. And some will be on their side, so they'll be bowl shape or fan shape. And some, like this is a fan shape or a bowl shape. Some will be like slightly on their side and tilted. Maybe we have a couple where we're not seeing the front or the top, we're seeing the back of it. And we'll put stem and sepal over there. And maybe some peeking in over here. Point of the brush, point of the brush. Voila. But you won't be able to lay over your other flowers with the yellow if it's too light or watery, so you need to make sure you have a really thick amount of color. Just tucked in over there and one down. And here. Okay, now let's start adding in some leaves. Sap green. And green gold. And we'll start in with some stems first. Stem and sepal. And start just small sections of the stems first to get it started, but I don't really like to crisscross and weave stems all the way in the center until I know where everything's going, and I usually put some leaves right there so it doesn't look like huge long stems and just like flowers floating. It just kind of feels too like it's gonna tip over, like the flowers will tip over. Okay, more green gold for my little daisy guys. Probably put leaves here. Just gonna do that right now. Right up against that Cosmo edge. And in here too. Outlining. And while these stems are still pretty wet, I'm gonna also do that in here. Just kind of bringing up a leaf shape right there. I'm gonna add green gold to it. And some Cooper green with sap green. And we'll go here. Some stems to these yellow guys. This will probably get too long, so we'll put a leaf right here and right here. Little scribbles for these thin little daisy spriggy leaf thingies, or daisies or dandelions, I'm not really sure. More leaves. Then I'm going to grab size 6 brush and use some burnt umber and Mars or carbon black and do in a really thick consistency. And add that like outline of a circle with these little dots to the center of these open cosmos. One more here. Shoot, shoot. And yellow with yellow ochre. Be smarter to wait for the brown to dry a bit. There you have it. Then you can grab a darker pink if you want to, in your size 6 brush, and couple of these. Just making sure that your detail lines are pointing to the center of the flower. I'm not even being super precise with these, I'm being really quick with them. And that still just helps to elevate the piece a little bit, make it more unique. And a dark green, Prussian blue, black, Cooper green, and sap green, and gardeners. Just drop this color on top of my leaves. I'm just picking a side and giving it like this variegated leaf look. And just simple ways of adding dimension that doesn't require precision, just a little plopping action. There you go, a chaotic wildflower bundle of cosmos and daisies, or whatever these are, dandelions. You can pop in some stamen to the yellow if you want. You could add more yellow or even white flowers, white little daisies like these. Or pale pink ones or pale blue ones would be pretty. But there you go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was fun. Again, if you want to keep painting flowers, make sure you check out my video on this channel called The Complete Beginner's Guide to Watercolor Flowers. And also, we have tons of flower videos, so we'll link to a whole playlist. I'm sure we have a playlist dedicated to flowers on this channel. And also check out my book, Everyday Watercolor Flowers. I have 3 books. One is just Everyday Watercolor, then Everyday Watercolor Flowers, then Everyday Watercolor Seashores, but the floral book will teach you all the different shapes of flowers in realistic and loose style painting. And also my book, or my course that goes along with the Everyday Watercolor Companion course, is the video companion guide to my books. And there's a lot of flowers in there as well, so make sure you check that out. We'll link to all of that below. As always, thank you so much for watching these videos. Let me know if you have any idea what these flowers are, and I will see you in the next video.